Greetings, this is another reader. Welcome back to my channel. I haven't done a book haul in a while. Yes, I know I am a slow reader, but I'm even a slower book buyer. Here are all the books that I have bought in 2022 so far. There are 8 books. Some of them I have already read, some of them I have already mentioned in my videos, but a few of them I haven't mentioned before or even shown them. Alright, let's get started. Let's start with the smallest book. I was walking in a bookstore. I saw this in the children's section and I couldn't resist. This book is called, wait a minute, it's The Kids Book for Mazes 1 by Gareth Moore. It isn't anything special, it's just mazes. There are level 1 mazes, level 2 mazes, level 3 and so on. I really like labyrinths. Sometimes when I get bored I take this book and I go through labyrinths. It's a fun book and it's a very small too. This is a very unexpected purchase for me. Next 2 books are both Agatha Christie books, Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express. I have already read Murder on the Orient Express. I already have a review in my February 2022 wrap-up video. But the Death on the Nile I haven't read yet. The story is set on a ship named Karnak and it sails on the Nile. A millionaire woman is killed. As it turned out, she had a lot of enemies on the ship. Hercule Poirot is on the ship and he is ready to investigate. As it turns out, there is a love triangle consisting of the woman that was killed, her husband, and a very hot-headed woman that he abandoned for this millionaire woman. Can't wait to read this. Sounds very exciting. Next book I saw on an online store and I wanted to order it, but then when I was walking around with my friend, I saw this book in a store and I knew I had to buy this. The Haunted Hotel by Wilkie Collins. To be honest, I actually missed a very good gothic mystery stories. And this is a great option for me. The Haunted Hotel is a combination of detective and ghost stories. This book is set in Venice, where there are a lot of bridges and a lot of mysterious deaths and water channels. An old building transformed into a fashionable hotel, but there are still a lot of dark secrets in that hotel that drive the people who live there crazy. And it makes them ask a question: who are there? Are there weapons of evil or simply mad? There are also some short stories by Wilkie Collins. The family curses, ghosts, the living dead, supernatural horror, and very intense narration. I'm totally in. This sounds interesting. Also, fun fact, this book looks very thick. These exclusive classics, however, there are only less than 450 pages. I also have Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe in the same edition, exclusive classics. It has 400 something pages and it's much thinner than this book. This book I will show a little bit later. Next book is The Flickerman by Ted Kosmatka. I have already read this book. I read it in one night. I already have a review on my channel. This is quite an easy read. I wanted myself some sci-fi and I got it. Also, to be fair, you know how I got this book? I simply went to the bookstore, I saw this and I bought this. This reminded me of those times when I bought books without getting inspired. And when I say getting inspired, I mean that there's no one to sing those books into my ears, or there are no booktubers to promote these books to me. I take recommendations from metal vocalists and booktubers seriously. Still buy books independently, luckily, but still, I haven't let anyone influence me before. Eric Argos is an employed scientist. Then he has the last chance to reclaim his reputation. He makes an experiment that it shows the double nature of the light and materials, and in the end there is a shocking discovery about the human consciousness and the structure of the universe. Well, there is a fight between science and faith, free will and faith, and so on. However, I was a little bit disappointed with this book. For more information, check out my February 2022 wrap-up video. Next book I saw on the online store. I didn't expect anything special, but then I saw that there were sales. I was saving quite a lot of money, and I knew I had to have this book immediately, because I collect the books by this author. The Fall of Gandalf by J.R.R. Tolkien, edited by Christopher Tolkien. I finally have them all. Here, ladies and gentlemen, here are all three separate books from the Silmarillion: Beren and Luthien, Children of Húrin, and finally The Fall of Gandalf. I spent nearly 2 years collecting these books. Bought this one in 2020, this one I bought in 2021, and this finally in 2022. They're together at last. I collect Tolkien in English. I am after everything he wrote. I am after his books. And special thanks to Blind Guardian again, because they made Tolkien an author, how to say this, I have turned into a Tolkien collector. Also, I love the illustrations of these books. Alan Lee did an amazing job. Fun fact, he has also collaborated with Peter Jackson while making Lord of the Rings films, and his influence is noticeable in the visual form. So, what is this book about? Gondolin, beautiful but undiscoverable, is central to the enmity of two of the greatest powers in the world. Morgoth of the uttermost evil seeks in vain to discover the marvelously hidden city of his elven enemies, while the gods in Valinor refuse to support Ulmo, the Lord of Waters, and his designs to protect it. Into this world comes Tuor, cousin of Túrin, and guided unseen by Ulmo, he sets out on the fearful journey to Gondolin to warn them of their coming doom. Then Morgoth learns through an act of supreme treachery all that he needs to mount a devastating attack on the city, with balrogs and dragons and numberless orcs. This review is very funny. Never did Tolkien write a more sustained account of battle. Makes Jackson's sounded-up cinema battles look like tabletop games. The Times. The Fall of Gandalf is briefly mentioned in The Hobbit, by the way. I reread The Hobbit in 2020, and I noticed that detail. The Hobbit feels absolutely differently after you have read Tolkien's other books. I didn't notice so much details in The Hobbit until I have read these masterpieces. I will read Lord of the Rings a little bit later, but this one I'd love to read very soon. The next one is The Neverending Story by Michael Ende. I have already talked about this book twice in my videos. This book is about a boy named Bastian that finds a book named The Neverending Story, and he steals that book and he starts reading it, but as he continues reading he realizes that he is a part of the story. Read this is amazing. I already have a video on my channel named Why It's Worth Reading. Go check that out. And finally, the last book. As you can see, there's a bookmark. I started reading it recently because I bought it recently. I was simply walking around the bookstores and they had the biography section. I saw this book and I knew I had to have it. I felt like I needed it very much. A History of Heavy Metal by Andrew O'Neill. Like it says on the cover, this book is the history of heavy metal. And also there is a commentary from Neil Gaiman, absolutely hilarious. The history of heavy metal brings us extraordinary stories of larger-than-life characters living to excess. From the household names of Ozzy Osbourne and Metallica, Sit Down Lars, to brutal notoriety of the underground Norwegian black metal scene and the new wave of British heavy metal. It is the story of a worldwide network of rabid fans escaping everyday mundanity through music of cutthroat corporate art censored, ripping off those fans and the bands they worship to line their pockets. I have already read 90 chapters. Right now I'm reading the chapter The First Wave of Black Metal. So to be honest, the first 4 chapters, while they were very interesting to read, well, I wasn't very much thrilled because it was literally the basics, like, well, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin and things like that, and I already know that. And I wanted to discover something different, and finally I got to the black metal part. This is something fresh because I don't listen to black metal. I'd love to read about it. And I was scrolling through this book in the store. There were a lot of bands mentioned. There were mentions of Nightwish, Blind Guardian and Iced Earth. Yes, speaking of Gaiman, I follow him on Instagram, and each time he posts something, I assume that he found out that Blind Guardian dedicated a song to his book American Gods, named Secrets of the American Gods, and I expect him to react. I wonder if he knows. Who is going to tell him? One of the funniest musical commentators that you will ever read. As you can see, I already have a few favorite moments in this book. I'm in the process of reading this book and I'm going to read it very soon. I have to make a confession. For the last week or so, I lost my desire to read books. I did not read them, I avoided them, I didn't want to read them. But then I saw this and my desire to read revived. I can't wait to talk about this book in my wrap-ups. Or maybe I will do a separate review of this book. I wanted myself a book about heavy metal. I want to see my favorite bands mentioned in this book. And reading this book feels like I'm talking to a metal fan. This is definitely a must-have for metal fans. Alright, that's all. These are all the books that I bought. Yes, I know I'm a slow buyer, and I hope to buy more in the future. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, and follow me on social media. Link to my Linktree is down in the description. There is also a link to Amazon where you can buy my debut novel, Nightingale Divine. See you next time. Goodbye.